I didn't disturb the natural.
I took off the eggs, actually.
Oh, yeah?
I took off the eggs.
I was afraid to take the eggs. I don't know, like if they can sense if I touched it.
Yes, I put it back.
So I just took the whole nest. I think that's also good.
But did you eat the eggs?
No, I put them back, but the bird abandoned them.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, so it sensed that someone touched it.
Yes, I was very angry.
Va'az the Shmuel tamei.
Egg haters.
Shmuel.
You should buy egg beaters.
You can put that on the...
Shmuel follows his opinion. Shmuel said the halacha Chananya that says that the Oisiv Espinay applies to male and female, and he follows Chananya's opinion, and Shmuel follows his opinion anyway, because he says this in another instance. The Tanana was taught in a Mishnah. So Mishnah in Kalayim. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer. Rabbi Yehuda says, "Hanoldim min asus, afal pi shaviyam chamar mutar mzebazeh." Okay, a mule comes from a horse and a donkey. So, but it could be a male horse and a female donkey. It could be a female horse and a male donkey. So Rabbi Yehuda says, if it's a female horse and a male donkey, the children are permitted to mate. You're allowed to mate. You're allowed to breed those offspring of those mules. I thought a mule can't have children.
I thought so too.
But maybe what it means is, I don't know. Okay, does it say anything here about? There's a note on the. So a mule can be male or female, okay, but that's not my issue. It has externally normal-looking reproductive organs due to its odd number of chromosomes. It's very rarely fertile. Okay, that doesn't mean that it's impossible.
Well, hold on a second. It says here something contrary to what you said. Rabbi?
Go ahead.
It says a mule is the offspring of a male donkey and a female horse, so it doesn't say it could be either way.
Oh, okay, so the English word mule is only with a female horse. Okay, so here we're talking about a mule. So we say that they can mate. Avananolda min achamar imanolda min asus, that's aser.
Oh, and it says here it can't reproduce.
So what's the point of mating?
What we're saying, over here it says it rarely can reproduce.
Well, it's funny, because it says the fowl is the question is, I'm looking in Google, it says, can mules ever reproduce? The fowl, how do you pronounce it? F-O-A-L? Foal. What do you want from my Tennessee accent? The foal is being called a miracle because mules aren't supposed to give birth. So I guess that is a weird case. Mules are a hybrid of two species, a female horse and a male donkey. So they end up with an odd number of chromosomes. A mule inherits 63. An even number of chromosomes is needed to divide into pairs to reproduce.
Okay. So what this opinion holds, Rabbi Yehuda holds, is that the father is significant here. So, therefore, if the father is a chamar, aval min chamar, imanoldim min asus asurim.
It says if there's interbreeding between a horse and a donkey. If the mother's a horse, it's called a mule. If the mother's a donkey, It's called a hinny. Hinny.
Whoa, that's close. Very close. So you can't mate one from the other. The mule with the hen.
It says a mule can be male or female, and though it externally normally looking, though it has externally normal looking reproductive organs due to its odd number of chromosomes, it's very rarely fertile. But it could be fertile.
And here it also says a few mare mules have produced offspring when mated with a purebred horse or donkey.
Uh-huh. Okay, so Rabbi Yehuda's opinion is that, let's say I have two, a male and female mule, because the mother was a horse, but the father was a donkey, and I have two of them. So he says I'm allowed to mate, I'm allowed to breed them together, because even if I consider the father here, what do I consider this animal, a horse or a donkey? So even if I take the father into account, and I consider it partially donkey, well, the other one is also if the father comes into play as part of the type of animal that this is, if I take that into account, well, the other animal also has it, so it's going to be the same species. However, if I have a mule together with a hinny, that means that the mother was a donkey, so then I can't breed it, because let's say I don't consider the father as anything.
Mm-hmm.
So even though they both have partially horse, partially donkey, but maybe I don't count the father, and then if I don't count the father, then I have a horse mating with a donkey, and that I'm not allowed. Okay,
I'm sorry, but this is just amazing. By the way, Tosfos Google mentions Zos. Do you know what the Zos is? A Zos is the offspring of a zebra stallion and a horse mare. The cross is also called a zebrula, or zebra mule. The rarer reverse pairing is sometimes called a horba, hebra, zebrini, or zebras. Like most other animal hybrids, the Zos is sterile. I leave you with that.
Wow, thank you.
Okay. So Hanoldim and Achamarim, Hanoldim and Asus, that's us.
The rest of the day off.
I need the rest of you.
So comes along, Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel, Zu Divrei Rabbi Yehuda Damar Ein Chayshin L'Zera'av. This is only Rabbi Yehuda's opinion that holds that. However, Aval Chachamim Maimrim Kol Minei Predas Achasein. The sages, according to Shmuel's view, the sages argue with this opinion, and they say that whether it's a mule or a hinny, it doesn't matter, because I do consider the father significant, and they're all considered regular mules. In other words, the father is a real partner here in the child's status. Very interesting. So according to Shmuel, what am I seeing from Shmuel in this instance? He's saying that the sages rule that the father in an animal is a significant part. And so therefore, when I say Yosef Espinai, it applies to the father as well. Just like when it comes to breeding a mule, that I consider the father's type, animal type, significant, so too when it comes to Yosef Espinai, I consider the father as a partner here. The Gemara says, Man Chachamim, who are the sages that Shmuel just spoke about that says that the father is significant? Chananyahu. That's the opinion of Chananya, that he holds the Amar Chayshin L'Zera'av. He holds that we suspect to the father's significance. V'hai bar susya v'chamra, v'hai bar chamra v'susya, kulu chad min ninhu. And this is an offspring of a female horse with a donkey, and this is a offspring of a female donkey with a horse. It's all the same thing. It's all one species, because the father is significant in both cases. The Gemara now asks, Ibayalahu. The Gemara has a question. Mifshat Pshita, I'm reading it a little different, the way Rashi has it. Mifshat Pshita le Rabbi Yehuda dein chayshin l'zerav, aydil masfukim misafkale. The way we learned Rabbi Yehuda, we said that we're not sure what role the father plays, and therefore you can't mate a mule with the hinny. but maybe he's 100% clear about that we only go after the mother and the father is nothing. So is he doubtful about it, or is he clear about it? Gemara says, "L'may nafkamina." What's the difference? Either way, you can't mate them. So the Gemara says, no. It's very interesting. Lemishra priya ma'im. Okay, here's the thing. Let's say I have a mule. The mother is a horse and the father's a donkey. Now I want to mate it with a horse. If I ignore the father entirely, it's a horse. If I have a doubt, if I ignore the father and therefore I couldn't mate it with a hinny, because maybe I suspect to the father, maybe not. So then, 1 second, this is not really a horse. This is partially a donkey. I can't mate it with a horse either. So, if he's 100% sure that you ignore the father entirely, so priya ma'im shari. So I can mate it with the mother's type with a horse. But if he's in doubt about the father's significance here, so priya ma'im asr. I can't mate it with a horse because this is partially a donkey. We have a very interesting question here. We have a mule. Are you allowed to mate, according to Rabbi Yehuda, are you allowed to mate a mule with a horse? According to the Chachamim, for sure not, because the father is a donkey, and this is a partially donkey. According to Rabbi Yehuda, that says we ignore the father, but do we ignore it entirely? Or we don't ignore it entirely, you still can't mate it with a horse. Tashma.
Why don't we say arguing l'chatchilam b'di'evet? Like you can't do it, but if it's done, then we would consider it part.
No.
Nobody says.
No, our question is here. The original discussion was mating a mule with a hinny. According to Rabbi Yehuda, you're not allowed to do that. And the reason is because he views the mule as a horse and the hinny as a donkey, because the mother is the significant one. Now we're asking, okay, I know that he says that, but does he have any doubt about the father? Is he just being strict because we're not sure if the father plays a part, and therefore we have to consider the mule a horse? Or is he 100% sure that all it is a horse? We said, what's the difference? The difference is, well, if it's a horse, then I can mate it with another horse, a full breed horse. But if he has a doubt, then I can't mate this mule with another horse, because the father is significant. So I know he doesn't allow it in a case with a mule with a hinny, but is that because he's 100% sure that I only follow the mother? Or is there a doubt if I follow also the father? And the difference would be if I can mate it with a full breed. So, Tashma, come in here. Rabbi Yehuda Kol Nolda Menasos. Rabbi Yehuda says anything that's born from a horse, which means a female horse, Afal Pisha Shaviyam Chamar, even if the father is a donkey, Mutarim Zebazeh. It's permissible. Gemara says, Hechi Dami. What's the case? What are you referring to? Eily Madavu the Hai Chamar Vavu the Hai Chamar, that they're both mules, both mothers are horses, both fathers are donkeys. Tzrich Lameimar. That you have to tell me that you're allowed. That's like Miman Shach. If it's a horse, then they're both horses. And if if you consider the father, so they're both mules. So they're either way. Why do you have to tell me? There's nothing significant about that halacha. Elalav, it must mean the avua the haisus, that the father of this one is a horse, which means that it's a full breed horse. V'avua the hai chamar, and this is a mule. Uktani mutarim zamzeh, and it says that they're permissible. Notice we're looking for a chiddush here. It says anything that's born from a horse, even if the father's a mule, it's allowed. That means I can mate a mule with a full breed horse. Alma mifsha pshitale, obviously, that he's 100% clear that the father doesn't matter. And I can mate the mule with a horse, with a full breed horse. Gemara says, Loi. No. Lo'ilam davua the hai chamar vavua the hai chamar, really, they're both mules. And we asked if that's the case with the ka'amr tzrich l'meimar. We said, that you have to tell me, that you can mate a mule with a mule. That's the same animal. says no. Ma'al de tema, what might you have said? Asi tzad sus mishtamish b'tzad chamar, b'tzad chamar mishtamish b'tzad sus, kamash malan. I could have thought there's a halachic problem here, because the donkey part of this animal is mating with the horse part of that animal, and the horse part of this animal is mating with the donkey part of that animal. I'm not allowed to do that. Comes to tell me no, that I don't view it like that. I view it as a mule, and you're allowed to mate them because they're the same. But that doesn't tell me that you ignore the father entirely. Toshima, we're looking. Right.
You can't marry another Chatziyah.
Right. Every part of him is. That's what I could have thought. The chiddush is that no, I divide it up. Only the horse is mating with the horse, and the mule, the donkey is mating with the donkey. That's my chiddush. So we're looking for still a proof what Rabbi Yehuda's opinion is about mating a mule with a horse. Rabbi Yehuda perda shetava, if there's a female mule that's ready to mate, ein marbian alel sus v'lei chamar elamina. You can't mate it with a horse or a donkey, only with its type. This is so clear. If it's obvious that you ignore the father, so lirbala mina dima. What's the problem? Mate it with a horse. Now, I translate it as a mule. We don't really know, because in Hebrew perda is either one. Right, we don't. In Hebrew, the difference is they don't have the mule and hini. So just mate it with the mother's type, whether it's a horse or a donkey. The Gemara says layadin and minadima. We don't know which one this is. This is a mule. I shouldn't say mule. This is a perda, which is a mule or a hini, a female offspring of a horse and a donkey, which we don't know which one's the mother. Layadin and minadima, my what it is. The Gemara says, but you said you're allowed to mate it with its mother's type. Now you tell me you don't know which one it is. The Gemara says, Hachikamer, this is what we meant to say. You can't mate it with any type of horse or any type of donkey, because we don't know the mother's type. We said mate it with the mother's type. What we meant to say is, go find the mother's type and figure it out, and then you can mate it. But meanwhile, you can't do anything. The Gemara says, so why don't you check the signs to see? We have signs that say what the mother was. Damar Abaya says, Avi Kali, if it has a thick voice, then it's Bar Chamra, then its mother was a donkey. Tzanif Kali, if it has a thin voice, then Bar Susya, then its mother was a horse. Vamar Rav Papa also says, Raver Vinudne, if it has big ears, Vizutra Gnuvte, and it has a small tail, Bar Chamra, then it's a donkey. Zutra Yudne, if it has small ears, Varabba Gnuvte, and a long tail, big tail. Bar Susya, then it's a horse. Then its mother was a horse. So you could have checked it. Gemara says, Hachmayaskinan. It's a classic Gemara answer. That what are we talking about? The lemes v'gidemes. That its ears are cut off and its tail is cut off, and we don't know who we can mate it with. We can't tell.
It's mute.
Oh, it's mute. Ilemes, it's mute, and v'gidemes, and its ears and tail are cut off. Okay, my havi Allah. So, what's the conclusion here? What does Rabbi Yehuda hold? Tashma, Damar Rav Huna Breder Rav Yeshua Kol Maidim. Everyone agrees. Rav Huna Breder Rav Yeshua is this under Rava, next to Rav Papa here. Huna Breder Rav Yeshua. He says, everyone agrees, Bepriya Me'aim Sha'aser, that you can't mate a mule with a mother's type. Shma Mina, Suki Misaf Galei Shma Mina. Obviously, Rabbi Yehuda holds that it's a doubt if we consider the father. Taisus over here goes through an interesting discussion. It's just 1 second. This whole thing is a mute point, because we paskin Shmuel paskin like Hananya, that we consider the father as an important partner, which means that even if it's a mule with a hini, you can mate it. Now you're telling me that the mule you can't mate with a horse. What do you mean? You couldn't have done that anyway, because the father is significant. Okay. Amalei Rababa Lashame. Rabbi says to his servant, Imailas le Kudnaisa, Berispik, if you're going to attach a horse to the wagon, Ayin lahanach dedam ladadi, make sure that they're comparable with those signs. Eily, and then bring it to me. Al maksavar in choshen lo zarav. It must be that he doesn't consider the father important, because if he did, then it wouldn't matter those signs, because Whether it's a mule or a hinny, it's the same animal. But if you choshin l'zarav, the simanim deraisa, and simanim are deraisa. That's why he's ready to rely on it. Rashi says this goes back to Bava Metzia, where it says that when you return a lost object, that if the person gives you signs, that's a biblical law that you can rely on those signs. I'll stop there.
You have to 2 A's or 1 A?
Yeah.
2 A's?
What do I do here?
Look at this
By
guy.
the way, that
should I press?
zebra hybrid,
Is it on?
instead of
What do I
having
press?
black and white stripes, that's
You
white
want
and
to
black.
stop it?
Mating of the also female horse.